This is your Chief Guard of the Republic radio show every Saturday, noon until 2 on WRMN 1410 AM. Of course, you know that because you're listening and you're on that channel, you're on that station AM, or you're watching us on WRMN 1410's YouTube live channel, or you have the app from WRMN1410.com and you've tapped listen here and you're listening. You call us in on 847-931-1410, but we're in the middle of producers right now, so we can't answer the phone on that. But I think I could reply to you if you hit us up on the magic text 505-926-1410. It goes all the way to New Mexico and then comes all the way back to us. It's really cool that way, right? So, hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm feeling a little better. I went to the VA for my doctor's appointment, and my blood pressure was like 3,000 over 2,000. It was pretty high. I wasn't expecting it to be that high. So the doctor put me back on blood pressure meds, which I told her I didn't want to take that stuff. You know, I tried to do it by diet. Obviously, that didn't work. Now, my doctor at the VA gets very angry with me because I guess I'm not a very easy patient, but I love her dearly. She's a great doctor and, a lot of respect for her. So now I'm going to try the blood pressure meds again, see if I get it down. Plus I headed out, I started working out again. I'm doing those chair workouts and stuff to try to lose a couple pounds. Maybe that'll bring my blood pressure down. But other than that,
try some garlic too, garlic tablets.
Yeah. I could get some more of those, yeah. Get
the ones with the parsley in them.
With the parsley?
Yeah, it doesn't give you the aftertaste, so it's kind of good.
Oh yeah, but I hear parsley's good for bad breath, and sometimes those garlic pills will give you, the dragon breath.
Exactly.
Not that I'm ever close to anyone to talk to them, if anyone notice. Right? So so this week we had something that was 5 years in the making.
We sure did.
Yeah. And the Urkle Bomber, huh?
Yeah, kind of unusual, but
You think he's going to go down in history as the Urkle Bomber?
He might. He might. He's the most let's just put it this way. He's of all the guys in the lineup, you wouldn't probably pick him as the bomber usually.
No, he's definitely got that look about him. But speaking of
he would be. I'm not trying to be funny now.
Urkle was trying to be funny.
I know he would be more of like a cast member of Cooley High movie or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's not. I'd pick him as an actor, not as the bomber. But I guess you never know.
Yeah. Speaking of, just so everyone knows that Urkle is not the guy in that picture. Urkel's doing real well. He's too busy. His name is Jaleel White. Right. And he's been busy since he got off that show. He's not one of these child actors that, whose parents stole all their money and then they became drug addicts and were robbing people and turned into prostitution on the street. No, he did very well for himself. He started doing voiceovers. He started, he kept his acting career going. So I'm sure he's doing very well. And, now this is going to be this whole event and this guy coming up would brings him back into relevancy, just because this guy kind of looks like his character, the big glasses, the nerdy face and everything else. But, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Jaleel White that had this guy set this guy up for this. I'm almost sure, because he didn't need to be back in relevancy anymore. He was still making money. What do you think, Paul?
I agree with you.
So for a couple of our shows, I've talked about how, you have the mass shooters and people out there causing all sorts of mayhem, but mayhem's a weak word for it. Terrorist acts, all right? So they're terrorist acts.
Let's go with anarchy. I like that.
Anarchy. Well, anarchy sounds like a political motive, a less criminal motive, a less international criminal motive. Because anyone could go with anarchy. Anarchy isn't against the law. Anarchy is just no law. It's human law. It's nature. Anarchy is natural law. Survival of the fittest, right? Whatever way you could survive, whatever niche you can fit into, no one else is going to help you unless you help them or they want to help you. Where in the government comes in and says, we don't care if you don't want us to help you. We're going to help you anyways, and we're going to help you to death. So, what do you think, Paul? You think anarchy is too weak of a word?
No, see, all of this stuff reminds me of the stuff that happened in Illinois and in other states around the 1880s, 1890s with the Haymarket riots and all of this. It's just a bad, it's a terroristic malaise that's hit the country, you know?
Yeah, but this like we said, the Urkle Bomber here doesn't seem like a terrorist. He doesn't seem like the guy you would pick out of nowhere to be a terrorist. You know?
Right.
You know, he's 25 years old when this happened. 25. So what? No one said that this guy's had any previous history. No previous history, right? Like he wasn't out there beating people up. He wasn't setting fires, you know. He wasn't blowing up fireworks, you know, blowing things up, the cars, you know, making his own homemade bombs and then blowing them up and, you know, at the junkyard or whatever, right? He has like no history that we know of now, right? So in the other times we were talking about this homegrown terrorist, domestic terrorist is, I could guarantee, not guarantee, but I'm pretty much sure that the kid was on the internet. He's an adult. That the Urkle Bomber was on the internet and he was in an echo chamber. You know what I mean, Paul?
Yeah, and you were talking about the hype from 5 years ago. We're talking about the fulmination of anti, Trump, anti-government, anti-this, anti-that. We're talking about a constant barrage of 60 days of, I don't believe this, I don't believe that, he's this, he's that, I don't, he's a terrible man, the country's failing, that we're losing our democracy. You have to remember, it's not the Urkle Bomber, today which I've heard he goes out in like Crocs, shorts, and walks a Chihuahua. There's stories about that. So we're not talking about, see, that's the problem with historical context. We view it through the lens of 5, 10, 20, 100, 1,000 years. You got to view it through the lens of what was going on at the time. And the fulmination of rabid anti-this, rabid anti-that, and, nobody, I mean, the stories. Thanksgiving, try not to fight with your family. Keep politics out of the Thanksgiving table. This Christmas, try to be this. It was a talking point for all the major networks and all the commentators, and for all we know, the dude could have snapped. I don't know, and that's kind of bad
on YouTube. Yeah, the guy could have snapped, but what let him? Okay, all the hype and everything. You get spun up in the hype, and you want to be part of what you think is the solution, right?
Right.
But all right, everything in here to me, and okay, so if I talk too much about this or use the wrong words, right? I got to be very careful with my wording and what exactly I'm talking about because of what my prior profession was. Not the police detective, but military intelligence, and especially human intelligence. This is what I did. That's open book. That's open source knowledge. I was an interrogator, or what they call a human intelligence technician. In fact, for one time, when I was W4, I was the senior human intelligence technician. But then when I made W5, I became the senior intelligence technician of human. I was promoted to a Sith Lord, all right? So I was a Sith Lord in human intelligence. So I've had a lot of training and been read on to a lot of stuff, and I'm going to be very careful not to talk about any of that because I'm still on, non-disclosures. Unlike other intelligence officers that completely violated their non-disclosures and walk away with it, which I'm going to come back. I'm going to circle back. Who you circle back? That was
Circle back Saki.
Circle back Saki. So this all screams at me tradecraft. All right. And what I said before is these kids sit in this echo chamber. And now it might not be a foreign government or a terrorist organization or even one of our own rogue organizations finding this kid. It might be one bored person, could be a 12-year-old, could be a pretentious 12-year-old, all right? Sitting in his basement, he's got his group. He's got his group on social media, and he's sending out a line, he's chumming the waters, and he's bringing in these people that have kind of like views. They all have the same views, whether they be very left-wing or very right-wing. It doesn't matter. They may have multiple rooms, multiple groups, where one might be all right-wing, might be all left-wing, because the further you get to the fringes, the more unstable these people are. So then you want to do something, and you want to have someone that's close, that has a motive, that has the basic capabilities to go through that. So you might get a couple hundred people coming into your room, but then you find one or two, and then you might find a dozen. Then you pare that down until you get that one or two guys. You might even have a backup dude, right? And now you groom them, and you help them along, and you push their buttons, and you get them all hyped up. And then they go out, thinking that they're part of this big group and this big movement. Well, the big group and big movement is some psycho in a basement, or working in an office building, or working for a foreign, or, it could be foreign intelligence, be a foreign country, it could be a corporate entity, it could be just one guy, out there. That's the trouble with the internet there. That's the trouble with that, all right? But here's what really gets me. Right? And this is why it screams tradecraft at me. That it wasn't that this is the one where it wasn't the random guy saying, hey, you should go. These guys that operated all on their own. I doubt that too, right? That you should go do something bad, right? Is because our ultra powerful FBI that was able to track down Granny walking past the Capitol for no reason other than she had to get to the next bus stop, and she had come in from Arizona to visit the Capitol, visit a relative there. She walks past, she goes past the next bus stop, her cell phone bings, they go out, they get her. And they said, you were part of the January 6th. They raid her house, they go through all this stuff and put her through hell. They could do that, right? They did that fantastic. They hunted down people like you wouldn't believe. And in 5 years, they couldn't hunt down someone that laid two bombs. They couldn't help them track them down. And you know what I say to that? Because they didn't want to. Because they didn't have to. You know what I mean, Paul? They didn't have to track him down because they knew where he was. They knew who he was. Now, do we got any text in here? You have my number and you are in my contacts. Oh, I don't think that's Dennis. Oh, okay, we got Dennis up there. Urkel Looker's dad was bail bondsman. They had a niche with it, Cleveland Dennis. Yeah, all right. So
I heard that too. The one thing, though, I think, and this is when we kind of communicated about the topic. About the time, about a month before Thanksgiving, about a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, reports started filtering that it was a woman in the security/intelligence community.
No, she was a police officer, not insurance security.
When it came out, she was.
She is a police officer.
Right. It came out that she was in that area, and I actually saw an interview with somebody that was her boss, and they asked him if he knew her, and he goes, "I know the woman you're talking about," and they were trying to get him to implicate the woman. Okay, and it's my understanding that the woman, because they figured the person was 5'6", had an unusual gait, which I really don't want to get into. But they did analysis, and they went through videos of the person, and they compared them. And this may have actually come out of Gabbard's office too, because she's the one that allegedly forwarded the report or everything. And the person was identified, all right, and she was actually named. Okay?
Yes.
And she got a lawyer, and apparently she had gotten some new puppies or something like that. And she had been making vast amount of videos at the time that these bombs were laid, and she could prove it. And her and the lawyer came forward, and I guess they said, "Hey, we're going after you people." And I think what happened is that it goes in theory with what you're saying. They couldn't have a situation with that bomber at the Atlanta thing where they were implicating the wrong person and were getting bad publicity and probably sued and everything. So then they had to, because if you heard the press conferences, there was nothing new here. Nothing new triggered them to get this guy. So what happened was they probably then had to say, well, we got to go do something now. Otherwise, we're going to all lose face and probably get sued and everything. So that's what prompted them to go forward. And I think it was the erroneous report about the lady that triggered, because, I guess, in his career as a podcaster, Bongino, I guess, was espousing
a radio host.
Yeah, what you're talking now. He said the same thing, and now he's in that office, and they probably figured we got to do something, and so then they dusted off the old file, and got him.
Okay, so like they could have done that 5 years ago. There's no new technology out there. There is new technology out there, but there was technology 20 years ago that could do it. Easily do it. 20 years ago, the technology was there. I've done it on my own as a detective, having to subpoena phone records myself, go through them by hand without the intelligence programs that they had available to them, that I had available to me in Afghanistan and everything, go through them by hand and identify a person, triangulating and drawing circles around 3 towers that I had to find the geocodes for, take out a Chicago map, draw circles with a compass. Yeah. No, I did that. That was available 20 years ago. 20 years
That's
ago.
Correct.
All right.
That is correct.
So they, like, what I'm saying here is they dumped everyone for January 6th. They dumped all their cell phones. They dumped all those towers. They dumped them all. They have all that data. You plug that data into the analyst software, all right, the analyst notebook, and that's an old one. Analyst notebook is old. I don't know what they're using now. I haven't been in the field since 2021, I don't care to be in. I'm not keeping up on it. I'm not one of these guys that's like trying to live out his past and everything. But that was there, right? You pump all that stuff in it, you press a button and it says, okay, here's all the connections. It makes, you see the crazy guys with the string on the wall, right?
Yes.
That's called a link matrix diagram. That is your basic intelligence analyst tool. A link matrix diagram. The computer does that for you. It puts all the connections in. And then all you got to look for is the center of evil, where all the connections kind of meet, right? So that was their 2021. They used it to get all these people that were anyone near that. But apparently someone was there that they never spoke to. That phone had pinged right at that time, but they didn't bother to. And what I'm saying here is, you can tell me I'm wrong, man. And anyone can tell me I'm wrong. Is they knew who he was. Someone there knew who he was. Someone in that investigation knew exactly who that guy was and just said, oh, don't look at him. No, don't look at him. He's nobody. He's just a nerd. Don't look at him. So when you're told, when you have, we discussed this with, eliminating, no, I was talking to someone else on this. My thing as a detective, right, was even if I had a main suspect, because he's just a suspect, right, I have 4 or 5 other possibilities, right, possibilities. So I got 5 possibilities and I have my suspect. And I go after the other 4 and I eliminate them so they're no longer suspects. And then I'm just left with one guy. Just with one guy standing there. He's most likely 99% chance my offender. Because I've eliminated all the other possibilities. That's him. Here's the thing. All the other possibilities, I say, have been eliminated. And they got one guy they were told not to look into by someone. It's either incompetence, total incompetence, everyone that was working on that, fire them all. Get rid of them. Total incompetence, 100% absolute incompetence. Let them flip on their boss and have tell the boss that we were going to look at that guy, and that guy said not to. Absolutely told us not to. Gave us a written order. I got in an email here. It says don't look at this guy. All right. So it's either incompetence or it's complicitness. So if you're going to commit a crime, right, and you have a corrupt sheriff and corrupt deputies, but your crime is going to be so big, right, that you could cut these guys in. Are they going to stop you from committing this crime? If they're the only investigative authority, are they going to investigate the crime if they're cut in on it?
No, not at all.
No. So the best way to commit a crime is to be the police, to be the investigative authority. Now, here's what I'm saying, okay? Aluminum hat, I'm going to make one. I'm going to bring it in so I could put it on when I'm saying these things, so you know I'm not getting space alien things, is that this guy is an asset. Remember the 200 and something FBI agents that weren't at January 6th?
Yeah.
In plain clothes, they just decided to take the day off and wander around out there. Remember them? That they absolutely weren't out there? That you had the director of the FBI swearing up and down, we did not have any undercover FBI agents out there? Remember that? And then all of a sudden, I didn't understand the question. Oh, of course we did. Why wouldn't I have law enforcement officers keeping an eye on stuff? That's why everyone knew it was a lie, because he'd be stupid not to have a few people out there, right?
Well, it would be not prudent. It would be not correct. It would be not in the best interest of both the agency and the country. But you're right. You would always have people circulating. I mean, they did it all the time. So why not this time, right? So I don't know. And the fact that they profess to not do it makes you think, well, they're incompetent or complicit, and either one is a bad thing.
Yeah, incompetent, complicit. I always gave people there's two choices. Never have a third choice. You know, either you committed this crime or you committed this crime. Never gave them you're innocent. You know, either you burglarized the house and didn't intend to kill that person, or you went into the house and killed the person. Which one was it? Yeah. Well, I just burglarized that house. I didn't intend to kill him. Thank you. Thank you. And this is okay. So now people are talking like this guy was a CIA asset, you know, that the Urkle Bomber is a CIA asset. You know why? Because again, it screams tradecraft. It screams tradecraft. Now, your local police departments, the what do you call it? The DC Police, Metropolitan Police,
Capitol Police, the whole bit, yeah.
Capitol Police. I highly doubt that they receive tradecraft training. I highly doubt it. Unless they were in a position like me where they did it in the National Guard or the Reserves. Or they did that on active duty and they got some tradecraft knowledge, right? Or they formerly worked for DIA, which you could do as a civilian and not as military, right? Or they worked for CIA, or they worked for the FBI. Oh no. Well, what do they, if you're fighting espionage, right? So the CIA has no law enforcement authority in the United States. The only reason CIA agents are armed are to protect themselves and to protect the building that they're working on and to protect classified material. That's it. They have no law enforcement authority in the United States. Zero, zip, none. All right. The FBI, on the other hand, has law enforcement authority. So in the continental United States, they investigate espionage. All right. And in the territories, and let's say you had an espionage case in an embassy overseas. Well, then the CIA would bring it to the FBI's attention, and the FBI would go out and investigate this. Right? So if you're going to fight tradecraft, you have to know. Paul, if you're going to fight tradecraft, you have to know tradecraft.
Well, I have a little bit of a interesting take on that. Years ago, when I started working, I had also applied for a position with the CIA. Okay, and they sent me several letters. Okay. But one of the things was after you read the letter, you were supposed to tear it up. Okay. And I do have a business card of the guy. And I actually had an interview with them in the federal building. Okay. And the guy I met, I'm not going to give his name because it might be real, but I never believed it was.
If that is your real name.
Yeah, he had the name of a character in Robin Hood. Okay, and he was an African American gentleman, very nice. He was in a brown suit. He was in an office very high up in the federal building downtown, and we got to talking about something, and I brought something up.
I wouldn't talk to anyone named Maid Marian and take them seriously.
It would be a very short thing and a common last name, a common first name together. Yeah. If you get my drift. Yeah. Very short and like.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so then we were talking about something. We were talking about it. And I brought something up to him, and he said that, and he looked down, and the post office was down there. He said, I have to write a memo about that. Huh?
I'm trying to tell Dino that the door's open.
He said, I have to write a memo about this because he said, it never occurred to me that one of the most valuable things in the Russian, at the time Soviet Union could do would be to have a guy in the post office next door. And then he goes, you gave me some good information here. And then, I went further on, and then I wasn't chosen, which I was kind of glad I wasn't chosen. But it was kind of interesting. So they do have a presence in actually the United States and in big cities. Although, it is true that the espionage domestically is the responsibility of the FBI.
Yes.
But they do have a presence, and, you can actually say that they're operating within the country, whether they'll acknowledge it or not, because I interviewed with this guy. So,
well, they're operating administratively. They're not supposed to be trade crafting in the United States.
Well, he was, because he was writing a memo about the post office after he talked to me.
But that's anyway, just a report. That's not, yeah.
But it's really my thing is, and I don't think we're ever going to find this out. I'm wondering how Urkle with the Crocs and Chihuahua.
Let's call him Bomber Urkle. Urkle the Bomber. Bomber
yeah,
Urkle.
Urkle the Bomber. Yeah, was able to make these bombs.
He was instructed how.
That's exactly right. And we got to find out who the guy was or the woman was that instructed him.
That's what I was saying. I was saying these kids out here, supposedly his family says that he's a bit autistic, he's strange, he keeps to himself, right? Which is perfect. I mean, that's the guy I want blowing up stuff.
That's the main guy.
That's the guy that you're aiming for. That's why you have these echo chambers out there looking for these guys. And then, it's like someone said, like in Rambo. Rambo's the type of guy that you put in a glass case that says, in case of war, break glass. Then you break the glass, you let them loose. But as soon as you're done, you put them back in, right? So all these guys under here are like, they don't realize that they're actually ammunition for the people to use them as weapons. Now, yes, he's an adult, all right? Maybe he has a few disassociative function.
Links missing. Yeah, links missing. Yes.
Yeah, he has a few, neurons misfiring or whatever, but he's still an adult in the eyes of the law. He's still competent. He's still competent for himself, which makes it. All right, in Afghanistan, they took an 8-year-old and 10-year-old, all right, 2 little kids, and put explosive vests on them and sent them up to the gate on a base, right?
Yeah.
And one kid, they took him off, and then they caught him again closer, and they put him on there, and the kids came up screaming bloody murder that, help us, help us, help us, right? But that's the level that they're taking, that you're taking a person that's easily manipulated, and you turn them into a weapon. Now, going back, all right, not the tinfoil hat, but logic, using a little logic here. So when our new FBI, director of the FBI, and his sidekick there, Dan Bongino, come in, and all of a sudden they find burn bags. Now, a burn bag is like a grocery store bag, and it's grocery store, it's that brown, right? It's that grocery store cardboard brown, paper bag brown, all right? And it's got red stripes on it, all right? And it's got burn on it. It says burn, right? So when you have classified information that you don't immediately put the shredder in, if you put it in a shredder, right? You put it in this bag, all right? So those bags don't need to go to a shredder, right? They burn them. The preferred method of destruction of classified documents is burning them. That's the preferred method. Not just shredding them, but burning them. Burning them, then shredding them. That's even better because that really gocks things up. But shredding them, then burning them. All right, so it can't be like on Batman the movie, right? When they took off people.
Rehydrated,
reanimated, or whatever. Yeah. However, that's a violation of the national documents, the National Archives.
The National Records
Act. All right. But, all right, this is plausible deniability. Another, you call it trade craft, plausible deniability. I'm in charge. I don't want anyone to see these things. But I don't want them to know that I destroyed them, that it was me, right? So what I do is I leave all these documents, I empty my desk, and I put them all in burn bags, thinking that maybe some janitor or maybe some lackey of the new people coming in, some underling will say, hey, take these things to the incinerator. All right? Now, what do I say? Did you destroy those documents? Sure didn't. Nope, wasn't me. Didn't do it. They're still in my office. Well, where were they in your office? Well, couldn't find anywhere else to put them, so I put them in burn bags. But I didn't destroy them. But they're not going to say that. They're going to say they're in their office. And they're speaking the truth. All right? So now, all of a sudden, you open up these burn bags and you start going through these documents that were going to be destroyed, but they haven't been, right? You still have to safeguard them now, right? But you look at it and it says Bomber Urkle. It says Urkle the Bomber on there. And you're like, oh, well, okay. But what do you have to do now? You just can't go out and do Urkle the Bomber, and you just can't build the stuff from the stuffs in the burn bag, right? So now you got to redo your investigation and make sure that everything points back to Urkle. But because you have Urkle as a suspect, that makes it a little easier. Now you don't have to eliminate the entire city of Washington, D.C., do you?
No.
But like I said, that work had already been done. Someone had already known it, right? They just said, nope, don't look at it because we don't want it. What we want is everyone to think that the non-deep state, right? We want everyone to ignore the deep state. We want everyone to think that this third party, almost third party or outsider here is responsible for stirring up all this angst, right? That people are laying bombs, that this was actually a violent thing. Now, here's another thing. Were the bombs neutralized? Or were they inactive? So you can have all the components of the bomb there, but if you don't leave some wires connected or whatever, right? If you don't add a certain...
the problem, that's a problem I have. They always use the word viable.
It's viable, but it doesn't have a fuse.
It's got all the pieces, but it's missing a connection or it's missing a wire.
Yeah. And like they use in training, all right? It could look like one. It looks exactly like one. It's like, oh my God. So do you call out, if it looks like a bomb, do you shake it? Hey, I know what bombs sound like because I'm just, Joe police officer out there, right? Do you kick it around or whatever? No, the bomb squad comes out. And how do they treat it?
What I do is I take out my multi-tool and cut the green wire.
That's a ground. But the whole thing should be grounded. Hey, we got a caller.
Okay.
Hey, guys, love your show. Well,
hey, Larry.
The proper procedure is if you see a bomb, you get away from it and you bip it, you blow in place. None of this Hollywood trick stuff or I'm going to cut this wire and, that's too much Hollywood. You can get yourself killed. You see a bomb, you get away from it and you blow it up. Now, how do you blow it up? That's another story in itself.
Well, they're right next to a building that has people in it and everything. So they have things called bomb eaters, right?
Yes, they do.
Solid, like 6 inches thick of concrete and steel, maybe a foot thick concrete and steel. And they hopefully could get it into the bomb eater and maybe it blows up in there or it's safe, or maybe they don't get into the bomb eater and the robot trying to put it in gets blown up or whatever. Yes, that's one thing. And then you check the components afterwards and you try to put together the little pieces to see what it was made out of. And they did that. I know they could do it. They did it in Afghanistan. It took them less than 24 hours to identify the actual guy that made the bomb that blew up 5 Polish soldiers.
That's true. You know, real quick story, guys. When I went to Niles West High School in Skokie, and during the days of rage, there was a guy who blew up the bathroom, you know, and they thought it was whatever his name was.
M80s in the toilets?
Yeah, the old M80s in the toilets. And they thought it was maybe been Ted, whatever his name was, the Unabomber. Remember him?
Kulak. Not the Unabomber. No, the Mad Bomber Kulak operated in Chicago, but he was back in the 60s, right?
Right, but they thought there was similarities.
Or early 70s.
He may have been. The story is they thought that there was similarities. All right, guys, I just want to say, too, I know for a fact Paul and Mike do a damn good job, but I know for a fact that Mike was on a lot of deployments around this time in his life, and we owe a lot of give thanks because he has a family. It's never easy being away from your family during Christmas. So my hat's off to people like
well, it was easier for my family
Mike
to be away from me for Christmas.
That's true, too. And people like Paul who support us. So you both mean a lot to us. So thank you very much, guys. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. So that, that's stuff that there's little details in there that you get some event like this that gets national, international publicity. You are going to have a lot of people, people with issues. Let's just put it this way. People with issues confessing to that. Calling up and say, it was me, and then they're going to bring them in and they're going to question them, and the guy's going to get key elements wrong. And they're just going to dismiss him out. That would be a great way to go in there. Call in, confess, and then they get the key elements wrong. And then have them dismiss you. Like, it couldn't have been him. He didn't know. He's a little goofy. And then you go on with your job as a nuclear engineer, Yeah, no problem.
Well, they had that same issue with the anthrax poisoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had people come in there and stuff like that, and then they targeted the one guy, and they kind of focused on him. And the thing that always amazed me was how coincidental the anthrax poisoning was to the September 11th attacks. I mean, it was like the person that did it actually would have had to have prior knowledge of that. It's very strange. The whole thing's very strange.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to get into September. Oh, by the way, okay. Today is the feast day of the patron saint of military intelligence, St. Nicholas. So he has a special place in my heart, not only because he wasn't afraid to throw down on some, not heretics, yeah. He threw down on some heretics, like beat them up in the Nicene Council. So he's all right in my book. Patron saint of military intelligence means a lot to me. He's also patron saint of mariners. He's patron saint of pawn shop owners. That's why you always see him holding the 3 balls. And the patron saint, believe it or not, of prostitutes.
Yeah.
So he's all around good guy. So I got to give him a shout out now.
Well, thank you, St. Nicholas.
And the other shout out, I guess, Dunkin' Donuts veterans. Tuesday mornings, all right, starts at 9, usually done by no later than 10:30, usually at 10 o'clock, but people get there at 8, all right, 7039 on Dempster in Niles, the Dunkin' Donuts. Every Tuesday, Dunkin' Donuts veterans meets there. Meet some old World War, we have a world, I think one World War II guy that shows up, quite a few Korean War guys. Most of them are Vietnam War guys, but any veteran is welcome.
God bless them.
Oh, we got another call. We're on a roll today.
Hello.
Welcome, caller.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. This is Dino. How you guys doing today?
Hi, Dino.
Hey, Dean.
Hi, Dino.
Love the show. I wanted to tell you, tomorrow being the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, the Joint Civic Committee of Italian Americans, Ron Onesti, the president.
I met him. He's a nice guy.
He's a wonderful man. Does so much for the community, Italian Americans or others. His father was a war veteran, and tomorrow we're going to be at Navy Pier. We're doing a wreath ceremony in honor of Pearl Harbor. You're
That's
free to
awesome.
come down and join us if you would like. We do it every year. But we are actually picking up, I'll be picking them up in the RMN limousine, 100-year-old veteran, Carl Laturi. He lives in Berwyn, and we're going to pick him up, just prior to the service, ceremony, whatever you care to call it. And we're going to pay our tribute and respects to all the men and women who perished in the Pearl Harbor attack.
It wasn't just Pearl Harbor that was attacked on that day. It was also Wake Island.
Understood, but
Yeah.
we're doing the ceremony, because they show that it was Pearl Harbor as far as the anniversary is concerned. But you're right. Wake Harbor was
And
also at the same time.
wasn't it Hong Kong too that got attacked too? Hong Kong.
I think they're already at war with the British.
Yeah, but there was an attack on the colony.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Well,
I'll
the
have to
beautiful
look that
part-
up.
Yeah, the details are important, I suppose, but more importantly, the fact that we are respecting and showing the tribute and honor that we need to gentlemen like yourself, veterans, to all those men and women that have served. And our assembly, because I'm with the Knights of Columbus, Bishop Shields, 2330, we will be there
Bishop Hillinger,
representing as well.
1595.
Yeah, amen. Glad to have you on. Yeah, I know your affiliation. So if you want to come with, you're more than welcome. Glad to have you. But we'll be down there tomorrow. The ceremony starts at 7:30, and should be a good turnout. We have a nice turnout. It's cold every year, and I don't think tomorrow will be any different. It's going to be a cold one.
Be a little.
The thing we need to remember though too is, besides Pearl Harbor, which was the trigger for the greatest generation of people, like all my uncles and everybody that I know whose parents were of that age, a lot of the men joined up right after that, and they put their country first and freedom above all, and God bless them all. And like you said, they're all about 100 now, and most of them aren't with us. My dad would be 102 at the end of the month, right after Christmas, and he was one of them. And Marla's father, got the bronze medal, and he signed up, and he there's a lot of guys that answered the call for those people that died at Pearl Harbor. And God bless them all, because I don't think we'll ever see anything like that, Dino.
Well, we had a big push after 9/11. There was a big push. 2001, 9/11, a lot of guys, even older guys, just joined. All right, so there was a big enlistment push back then, 9/11. What that tells you about that one of the fears that our competitors, I don't like saying the word enemy, right? But our adversaries, competitors, and the world stage there should be well aware of it. Historically, when an incident has happened to the United States has come out in droves. The United States has come out, not just draftees, but people that enlist, all right? That our production has gone through the roof, that people have pushed to defeat the adversary, just defeat them outright. Absolutely defeat them. And that's what keeps us at peace is, I think, for 75% of the public, that basic patriotic feeling that if our country's in danger or someone's hurt our country, that we're going to send the hurt right back to them.
And that's the great thing about, and I admire your show. Although your bias comes out, hey, we all have a bias. We all have what we stand on. But one great thing about the United States of America, when there's a problem, I think the politics get pushed off to the side, and we're all one. We're all American at that point. You want to take parties all the other times of the year? I don't care. Stick your party, you know where else. But when it comes time to standing together and be one force, the United States of America, to what we stand for, and our pledge is to our allegiance is to our country. I love seeing it when we have to, of course, when everybody stands together and shows that unity. Nothing fills my heart more and warms it more than those opportunities.
And the reason the politicians, the congressmen and senators all come together to protect the United States is because they know if the adversary comes over here, they're going to be the first up against the wall.
Well, 100%.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, protect us, protect us.
Yeah. They're the first to go under the desk. But that's okay. We still have a lot of proud men and women that are selflessly serving our country, and I just wanted to throw that in there and let you know what we'll be doing tomorrow. Ron Onesti, like I say, it's guys like him, and he's the president of the Joint Civic Committee for Italian Americans, guys like him that keep that message in people's minds, that, by bringing Carl Laturi with us, he goes around his own steam. He uses a walker.
Yeah, but he's still moving
on his own steam.
All right,
and he's the guy standing up, saluting the flag when everyone else is sitting around talking during the national anthem.
So another one of your great Italian brothers that's a big thing in the Italian veterans community is Lorenzo Fiorentino. Have you heard of him?
Sure. Yes, I have.
He runs the Italian-American Veterans Museum. It used to be over in...
Right. And also Paul Basil is the one that really started it.
Yeah.
But yes, he's a part of it.
And he's opening up the Chicago area Joint Veterans Museum over in Addison. Or Aurora, one of those. Aurora, I think. In Aurora. All right, so we're going to commercial. First half of the show.
Have a great day, guys. God
Thanks,
bless you.
Dino.
Appreciate your service.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
That's wonderful.
Not for being a great director of the FBI, but for lying to the American people. Being the tallest liar.
Well, there's another issue with him, and we're let's see, we're approaching 10 years on this, and I'll never forget this because it was a Saturday, I believe, and I drove home because I heard it on the radio and I had to watch it on television. There was a question as to whether the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, had done some improper stuff with
mishandling of
Yeah, it was a computer. And, I watched the press conference and I watched him, and he basically said she did. But he said he was not going to be involved because it was a political thing, and he was declining to recommend her for charges.
Yep, I remember that.
I thought that as the head of the FBI at the time, that wasn't his job.
Elliot Ness is flipping around in his grave.
Yeah, and if that wasn't putting a thumb on a scale of an election that turned out not to go the way he thought it was going to go, was enough for me to be revolted by our high officials. And we're talking. This is even before January the 6th.
He had talked to. We were at a conference for law enforcement and intelligence professionals in Chicago, and he talked to us via Zoom or whatever, Zoom meeting. And I wasn't impressed with him then. He seemed a little bit full of himself,
Yeah.
like he was the smartest guy that wasn't even in the room. But after that Hillary Clinton thing, right, where if I had done anything of the sort, or any lower echelon military guy had done close to that, they would have been done. They would have been done. They'd be in prison. They'd be making little ones out of big ones in Leavenworth. They would never work again. Their whole lives would be ruined. Right? But when you destroy, Paul, why would you throw documents in a burn bag?
To be burned.
To be burned, to be destroyed, right? Even if you don't destroy them. So we're looking at a pattern. That's what they say. That's what they say defines intelligence quotient in human beings, is the ability to see patterns and think in the abstract, right? So the ability to see patterns here. Hey, most of the communications done was electronic. So one of the things servers do is they keep track, they're supposed to, by federal law, keep all that communications. They keep all the communications. They got to have like a backup of all these emails. You send out an email, guess what? If it goes through a server, it's saved. It's supposed to be saved. This stuff's supposed to be backed up, right? So how do you destroy the information that's on the server? And if you have information on the server and it's totally legit, even though the server was somewhere it wasn't supposed to be, right? But all that information is legit, then, hey, what's the problem? That was my job. I did my job. But if that information leads to crimes, or if they, leads to something suspect, what do you do with it, Paul? You destroy it, right? Because it leads to something suspect. Right. So let's come back to the Urkle Bomber.
Yeah.
So if the Urkle Bomber thought he was going to get caught, and what do you think he would have at least tried to do? Cover his tracks.
Right.
Right? Right. He would have hidden everything that he had done under some fake emails, under some, what do you call it? VPNs, virtual private networks, which ain't really virtual private. They can be checked too. It's just more difficult, right? It's just more difficult to do it. He would have been doing something, but he went home. And when it all came out that they're looking for this guy, did he flee? Did he go anywhere? Did he say, oh, well, I'm going to go visit my relatives in a non-extradited.
He stayed with the Crocs and the Chihuahua in the basement.
Why?
Because he felt it was immune from being prosecuted.
Why?
Because he was on the ends with them.
There you go. You just got to go down the rabbit hole just a little bit. And that's tradecraft.
You want to know something, though? You got to really wonder about this. You really got to wonder about this. And we talked about the dude's gate and everything, but did you look at him? Did you really look at him? Did you look at the whole thing?
I looked real close in his eyes, and I could almost see a glimmer of intelligence.
No, here's the funny thing. If you look at him, you put a COVID mask on him, and he looks exactly like the sketches of the Unabomber with the hoodie.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
and
do we know if he read the Unabomber?
I'm not even saying. What's the easiest way to confuse somebody? Make them think about something else.
Yeah.
And
misdirection. That's what a magician does. Yeah. Misdirection.
Yeah. Go to the most perfect bomber of the type that took 20 years to find. Hoodie, this, that, and then put a COVID mask on him because we're in COVID, and there you go. You got your guy. Everybody's drawn to why they did that? How they drawn? Well, when you see an image of him, you're going to think of the COVID sketch, not him. And he's got a blank face because he's got a mask on, and it's genius because it's subliminal. It's like they planned it that way.
Well, yeah.
Look at him. You look at him that way. He's moping around with the gray hoodie, fumbling around in the bag, placing the bomb, watching the guy walk the puppy because he's got a Chihuahua himself, and then probably said hi, doggy, and then move on to the next place. It's and what and in my mind, I'm seeing Kaczynski in my mind
But
because that's what they want you to see.
But do you think
like you said,
Kaczynski?
it's misdirection, it's intentional.
Going back to Kaczynski, there. Do you think he was being handled?
He's from over this way, and I heard some strange stuff about him and things like that. I think that I think that he might have been radicalized by a handler, but I don't know if he was handled or not. And the fact that he was able to do the stuff with like natural elements, like he carved his own wood and he walked 20 miles to the post office and he
That's a guy operating. That's guy operating individually. All right?
Yeah.
Because what did he do? He's out in the woods. He is hiding.
Right.
He's like, I've got no high cover. Right. I got no one to cover for me. I can't come out. I can't call my handler and say, hey, are they on to me? Okay, well, I'll just keep living out here in the open then, No, he's out hiding, and the only thing that turned him in, all right, the only thing that got him, not the wonderful FBI, right? Not them again, right? Not their counterterrorists, not all this stuff. His own brother read a couple of this guy's writings and said, that's my nut brother. Where's he at? Well, last I knew he was out in the woods over there.
Yeah.
Turned in by family. That's what that's what we don't see a lot of anymore. All right. This kid here living in and like, okay, you're living in the basement, you're on the internet, you're in your echo chamber, you never bother mama. You never bother mama. Mama says, go walk the dog. You go out, you walk the dog, you come back. Mama's happy with that, right? You go work for your dad. God knows what you're doing. Probably not skip tracing, right? Probably not locking these guys up, probably doing some administrative work, around the place, filing some paperwork or whatever, right? They don't notice you. You're happy, right? Because you're not really spouting your beliefs out there. If this guy was really spouting violence and everything, there'd be more talk around the neighborhood about it, right? There'd be more talk on it. Now, some families are notorious for shutting up. Shutting up. My advice about the Miranda rights, right, is shut up. I think that's my advice. I don't care how innocent you are. Shut up.
What's going to be the real telling thing about this, and it's going to be in the background. But there's a $500,000 reward out for this guy, and I'm going to wonder who applies for it.
Well,
or if somebody does.
All right, so no one's getting that. So what you have, even the intelligence analyst, FBI contracts. So guys that were in the military, right? Guys that were in the military, they got a clearance out of the military, or they got a clearance working some other job, right? And now they're out and they go to clearancejobs.com. There's a plug, the free plug for clearancejobs.com. If you got a clearance, go there, look, see what they got. And they get a job as an intel analyst with the FBI. They may not have even been an intel analyst before, but they have the clearance, so it's easier to train them up to be an intel analyst, right? So these guys work for contractors. But because they work for the contractors, they work for the FBI, even if they're in on it and they're saying, oh, I know who this guy is, right? They're not getting anything. But let us say that in this pile of burn bag stuff that they pulled out, that the guy that left it behind, either incompetent or complicit, I'd have to say complicit, right? Put the stuff in there hoping someone else would burn it. So we would always have plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability, yeah.
You always want plausible deniability. Wasn't me. Couldn't have been me. The way they word things, the way the press words things, right? Plausible deniability. Now, in there is some person calling from Virginia, where this guy lives, and saying, hey, my neighbor, that night he left with that bag. I saw that bag. That's the same bag. And that's the same hoodie that he was wearing. Because I'm a little old lady and I'm sitting out and I'm just watching out the window and I see this guy because he's amusing. Because every night he comes out and walks his chihuahua in his Crocs and his shorts, no matter how cold it is, right? So he's very amusing. But this night he comes out totally dressed up, wearing the mask, wearing the hoodie and everything. He's carrying the bag. Well, I remember that bag. All right? I'm not saying that this actually happened, but they get that call. They get that tip, right? And it's in that burn bag now. That's the person that should say, come out and say, hey, you found him because of me, because I called in that tip, because this is the guy I called in a tip on. Now, the backslide on that is snitches get stitches, right? Anyways, I don't think that happened. But that is the only way I think someone would collect it, because the FBI agents can't collect it. The police officers involved in the case can't collect it. The intel analysts working for the FBI can't collect it. I had cases with the FBI. Bank robber, right? I said, I locked up that guy 3 times. Called the FBI. Yep, this is his name. This is his IR number, right? Do I get that award? No, because I'm a police officer. Another one, he was robbing all the banks and the TCFs and the jewel, right? So he'd go into the jewel and rob those things. And he always wore a sundress. And the FBI called him the sundress bandit. And they put out a flyer to all the police and everything, wanted for bank robbery. And they got this guy picture on it. And I'm like, I know that guy because he's always a missing person. and I run his IR number, his individual record number, right? Because I knew he was always missing, so I had his number. And there he is, wearing the same exact sundress that he is in the photo, right? The same sundress. And I called the FBI and I says, I'd like to talk to so-and-so to put out this flyer. They go, oh, he's on vacation. Call back in 2 weeks. I says, hey, dude, I don't think you understand. This is on the flyer that he just put out today before he went on vacation. You know? I says, I've got your guy. You know, I asked him, do you have our access to our IR numbers, individual record numbers? And the people listen, he goes, yeah. I said, run this number. And the guy looks at it and goes, oh, guess who was picked up? Guess who I didn't have as a missing person anymore? But see, did I collect a reward on that? Because there was a reward offered. Nope. Did I go to someone loosely associated with me and say, hey, FBI, right? This is your guy. He lives at so-and-so and whatever. That guy could have collected a reward, but that would have been something called unethical. You know? So that's what I think the reward was. They offered the reward, you know, in full confidence, with full confidence, knowing that no one would turn this guy in because he was a nobody with no record, no MO. He was a nobody. He was the Sherlock Holmes and Arthur Conan Doyle. There's one where there's this gentleman's club and they were doing some nasty stuff, right? And everyone was in on it except for one guy. One guy, right? Well, this is the guy. All right. So we got one more quarter to show left. See you back in a couple minutes after our fine commercials from our sponsors.
Political party poopers got you down? Shake it off and join me, Dennis Sonar Green, every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. on WRMN for A Political Talk Show, where we cut through the doom and gloom with a focus on America first, constitutional values, and a populist perspective that puts you, the citizen, at the center of the conversation. At WRMN, the talk of the town, we're not afraid to challenge the status quo and bring you the straight talk you need. Whether you're frustrated with the political establishment or looking for a clear, some nonsense analysis, this show has you covered. Tune in. Let's take on the issues together with a fresh, unfiltered approach. Catch us every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. on WRMN, A Political Talk Show. WRMN, the talk of the town. Get ready, Lily Lake. The holiday magic is back with the second annual Christmas tree lighting happening Friday, December 5th at 5 p.m. at the heart of the village. Bring the whole family to enjoy hot drinks, local food and crafts, cozy heated tents, and yes, a special visit from Santa Claus himself. It's a winter wonderland celebration hosted by your very own village of Lily Lake, where holiday spirit comes alive beneath the glow of the village Christmas tree. Don't miss the lights, the laughter, and the joy. That's Friday, December 5th at 5 p.m. For more info, visit villageoflilylake.org or call 360-365-9677. The Village of Lily Lake is lighting up the season, and you're invited.
My name is Ariel. I moved to the U.S. at 19. I spoke no English and I struggled finding job opportunities. Everything I have, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and getting my high school diploma at age 22.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Looking to set sail on your dream vacation? Cruises International has you covered. Specializing in land and sea getaways, they're here to make your vacation unforgettable. Located at 1721 Moon Lake Boulevard in Hoffman Estates, they offer personalized service with a global network of specialists to ensure your trip is tailor-made just for you. Call today at 800-255-7447 to speak with a cruise and vacation expert. And don't miss Travel Tuesdays on WRMN AM 1410 every first Tuesday of the month from 11 to 12 p.m. on Out to Lunch. That's Cruises International. Your vacation, your way.
Kick off your weekend with a little flair. It's Dino's Night Out, every Friday from 2 to 4 p.m. on WRMN 1410 AM. Dino brings you the best of the Fox Valley's entertainment scene. Live music, local artists, street festivals, great eats, and the personalities behind them. If it's happening, Dino's talking about it. And bringing the spotlight is none other than the legendary Arcada Theater, located at 105 East Main Street in St. Charles. Catch dinner, drinks, and a show, all under one historic roof. So whether you're making plans or just love to know what's hot, make it a date with Dino's Night Out, Fridays, 2 to 4 p.m. on WRMN 1410 AM, or stream it live at WRMN1410.com. Dino's Night Out, powered by the Arcada Theater, where Fox Valley comes to play.
Six Bayonets, comrades, we're back for more of the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show with your co-hosts Mike Tuman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday, noon until 2. Make sure that you put the WRMN1410.com app, or, you could go to use your browser on your cell phone, www.WRMN1410.com. Put that there and then save that page, save that link to your desktop on your phone, to top of your phone. And you always have it there. You press on there, it'll come up, and right there, there'll be a button that says Listen Live. And you click on that, and you'll get it through your cell phone, so you don't have to worry about the scratchiness. But all the way out at my house today, because we got a very low cloud cover and heavy cloud cover, this AM came in fantastic. because, you know, the AM signal's bouncing off the clouds and it's coming down very nice. Or, you know, okay, so you could also catch us on the YouTube Live for 1410 WRMN. So you go to WRMN 1410 on YouTube, you know, search that. It'll come up with their channel. Immediately subscribe to that and like it. And on the live section, you'll see us playing now. And then later on, you go back to the live and you'll see us up there. And we'll generally be in there for a couple weeks. You'll see a picture of me and Paul. But if you missed the show and you want to see the show without the commercials, except for the ones, you know,